I'm Rob Gamber from DryAir, and this is Kurt Weibel from DryAir. And we're in Baltimore at the National Facilities Show. And we, for our booth, brought in this fine piece of equipment, which is the HHP-E, which is the Hydro Heat Pro Electric. And hopefully Kurt can give us a little bit of background on it and what it does.
Sure can, absolutely. This unit behind us, as Rob mentioned, is the HHP-E, the Hydro Heat Pro Electric. And the design of this machine, Rob, is actually, it's all electric.
I gathered that.
That's right, yeah, it is electric. And when you think of electricity and you think of how much power it takes to heat up hot water, you could probably say a lot, right? You would think so.
I would, yeah.
Because your house has a hot water heater in it, right? And it consumes a little bit of electricity. You know, you tell your kids, quick, hurry up, get out of the shower, that type of thing.
Right.
Well, the interesting thing on this model is we are able to reduce the consumption or using kW steps. So we don't have to run it at full peak.
What would full peak be if I were to run this all out?
Let's say 800 amps, 480 volt, three phase. That's a lot.
Most buildings don't have a spare 800 amp breaker.
No, they don't. You're absolutely
right. So how
right.
can I use this piece of equipment?
Well, let's say you're staying in a nice hotel and you want to take a shower in the morning, but unfortunately they lost hot water.
It happens.
Temporarily, we can come in and provide that hot water. And what we can do if they have, let's say, a 400 amp service, we can reduce the power consumption by backing off the kW steps to that 400 amp consumption. So we can stay within their parameters.
Okay.
Now, the BTU is reduced, obviously, because you're not performing or putting out as much kW heat load to that water, but we can reduce that down to what they have available for us.
How many BTUs is this?
Totally 2 million.
2 million.
2 million.
So if I used half of it, they had 400 amps, 480 volt, I would get about a million BTUs.
A million BTUs for this, yes.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So you're telling me it's a boiler?
No, see, that's, you would think, right? Because you were in a hotel and you lost hot water, so the first call you're gonna make, if you're the director of maintenance, oh, but we're at the National Facilities Maintenance Technology Show.
We are.
They're around here. They would say, hey, I need a
boiler.
Well, what does a boiler produce?
Steam.
And in the end result, not all the times do they need steam as the end result, right? Because you're not taking a shower with steam. God, I hope not. That would be really hot.
That would be hot.
Right? But they use the steam on one side of a heat exchanger. On the secondary side, they're heating that hot water up for the building.
So the ultimate result is hot water.
It's hot water. They don't really need a boiler for that
So why
example.
is this not a boiler?
The primary side, or the side we're sitting behind or in front of, it's behind us, is the primary side that's open to atmosphere. We are not a pressurized vessel. We leave it open to atmosphere for that purpose. So we don't have to have all the permittings, the boiler watch, things of that nature, hard piping into the building as steam would, because it takes a while to hook up a steam boiler.
It does. It does.
Right?
I've
And they're
seen
not
it.
real small.
They're not.
Typically.
They're not.
There are smaller ones, but typically they're not as this size.
So if we're not talking about a hotel needing hot water, what other applications could we use this machine for?
Yeah, you know, hot water is used in many applications. It could be a process side, it could be food and beverage, it could be testing chillers that are out in the marketplace, such as data centers. It could be used for a winery to wash down their things they use to make wine,
their
right?
vessels or whatever.
Or a brewery, right?
Sure.
And those types of places. There is low pressure steam in a brewery,
Yeah.
but they also do have hot water systems, hydronic systems as they're called.
Right. So hot water's everywhere.
It is entirely all over.
It is everywhere.
Right? Unless you're living in the woods somewhere, under a rock.
Well, if you're living in the woods, you'd like to have hot water.
Probably use a pot with maybe fire.
Okay, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, we are, sorry.
There's also the Hydro Heat Pro Fuel.
There is.
Why is that different?
The Hydro Heat Pro Fuel, F model, as we would call it, has the ability to burn 3 different fuels: natural gas, propane, and diesel. And why is that important? In the emergency setting of needing hot water quickly, a building may have natural gas. But we talked a little bit about how it's hard to hook up a steam boiler.
Sure.
You're going to need that piping for that gas delivery to the machine ran by a steam fitter or mechanical contractor. Yeah, right. So we can come in with a diesel unit, a fuel cell, typically, and just put them together, the fuel
Right.
cell to the diesel burner, and give you hot water pretty quickly.
Okay.
And then the next couple day or day and a half they're running the steam, we can swap out the burner right on site because all burners are on that unit.
Right.
There's some that aren't being utilized in storage, and then the burners being utilized would be in the chamber side. Same side we're on, just would be behind.
So the fuel unit, you can use propane, natural gas, or diesel for a quick setup. Diesel's perfect. In the future, if the customer ends up with a propane line or a natural gas line, you swap
Yep.
it over and you're ready. It's a Swiss Army knife.
That's it.
Okay. Lastly,
Last.
both of these units
Yes.
can produce hot water, but what type of hot water?
Hot.
I know hot, but if I'm taking a shower, I'm using.
It's process water for maybe a production application, process
Okay.
side. And then we have the domestic side, which is referred to as the water that you would use for a shower.
Okay.
And we can operate the system under two different temperatures at the same time. So the secondary side, we have two heat exchangers. One is the process and one is the domestic side. And we can run those two heat exchangers at two different temperatures from the same side of the primary side running at one temp and the back side running at two different temps because the primary side feeds the heat exchangers.
So you're saying on both units, my primary side, I can feed both heat exchangers
Correct.
with a set temp.
Yes.
We'll call it 180 degrees, but I can give them 120 degrees on the domestic side and 180 on the process side?
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of neat things about it. It's not, when I say new to the market, let's say it's 3 years, maybe 3 years. The market's still learning what it can do.
Right.
There are companies that own them in the rental fleet, but the market itself, and that's why we're here, right? The National Facilities Maintenance Technology Show, that's a mouthful.
It is.
That's why we're here, to introduce this to the people that maintain buildings and get the ability to understand how this unit can work and help them.
Cool.
Pretty exciting.
It is. All right.
Well, there
thanks,
we go.
Kurt.
Rob,
Thank you.
thank you, and we look forward to seeing you.